Jim Jones confront academics. He, kind of got in his face a little bit. He was getting a little bit loud and so forth. Now, let's just say the two of you run into each other backstage. Would you go and have a conversation with him and try to have a polite conversation, or would you just keep your distance?
Nah, listen.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if some of the biggest names in hip-hop suddenly ran into each other backstage? Today, we're diving deep into a story that's full of tension, insight, and real talk from the streets. It all starts with Tony Yayo, who sat down in a revealing conversation with Vlad. This isn't just any interview. It's a raw look at what really goes on behind the scenes when rappers interact, especially when personalities like Jim Jones and Tony Yayo are involved. You'll want to stick around until the very end because there are lessons here about fame, respect, and survival that you won't hear anywhere else.
Listen.
Jim is not going to. Okay, hold on. I just want to say this.
Hold on. Go ahead.
I just want to say this.
Go ahead.
I don't see Jim approaching you in the same way as academics. Clearly, the two of you are very different people, right? So, would you actually have a conversation with him and try to clear things up, or would you just keep your distance?
For me, like for me, I don't even want to be places where niggas at, because I know what happens. I know lawyer money, Scott Lehman, that's going to cost a grip. I know bail money, it's going to cost a grip with your name affiliated with anything with 50 Cent. You know what I'm saying? And, like, I'm the type of nigga, like, you know how niggas wear jewelry? And, because there's two securities. You got your thug, you got your gangster security, right? And you got your licensed security, right? Mm-hmm. That's why I kind of like the dispensary business, because it's a licensed security to hold it, right? But when you got motherfuckers really don't care about their people, you can have your jury or whatever on, a motherfucker taking a risk of going to jail or him getting killed because you got a chain on. For me, once I'm famous, my face is a jewel. So I ain't tripping on no jewelry. It ain't a good investment to get killed for. Go buy a house or something else, or invest in some Bitcoin or something else. Cause it's cool as rappers, we gotta have it. I still love it. Don't get me wrong, but your nigga's taking the risk. Are you gonna have the bail money and the lawyer money for your nigga or not? Cause a nigga might not be ready to spend $500,000 on 4 niggas, 3 niggas, know what I'm saying? So for me, I know how this game go. I don't go back and forth. Look at Tax Stone.
Tony Yayo begins by talking about an event he attended with academics at the NBA Young Boy Show in New Jersey. Backstage, the energy was high, the artists were everywhere, and of course, Jim Jones was in the building. Things got tense when Jim confronted academics, showing just how volatile situations can get. Vlad asked Tony a question that's on everyone's mind. If he ever ran into Jim Jones personally, would he confront him, or would he keep his distance? Tony's answer is as honest as it gets. He explains that in this business, understanding risk is everything. Some people think it's just about bravado, but Tony breaks it down. You can't just show up with a chain or expensive jewelry and think you're safe. There's always the risk of getting hurt, arrested, or worse. And when you're famous, he says, your face is your real jewel, not anything you're wearing. That statement alone is a mindset that separates those who survive in the industry from those who don't. Tony goes even further, explaining the practical side of staying safe. He talks about lawyer fees, bail money, and how quickly situations can spiral out of control if you're not careful. He mentions how a lot of people in the music game forget that it's not just about you, it's about your whole team. If someone's on your side who isn't ready to act, or if the other side has people prepared to retaliate, things can escalate in a second. This is where Tony's experience really shines. He's been through the highs and lows, and he's seen how quickly fame can turn dangerous. One of the most interesting parts of the interview is when Tony brings up advice he received from 50 Cent. 50 Cent apparently told him, if you're not ready to kill someone, avoid confrontation at all costs. It's a shocking statement, but it underscores the harsh realities of the world Tony moves in. Tony explains how he applied that advice in real life, particularly when dealing with someone like Jim Jones. Instead of escalating, Tony kept things calm. He shook hands, moved on, and avoided unnecessary drama. It's a lesson in thinking ahead and valuing your life over pride or ego. The conversation then shifts to another legend, Earthquake. Vlad asks Tony about a rumor Cat Williams spread about Earthquake supposedly not knowing how to read. Tony clarifies that Earthquake does in fact know how to read, and he even shares stories of Earthquake running into other artists like 50 Cent, who gave him solid advice about staying safe in the game. These moments highlight how much mentorship and experience play a role in navigating the industry. Tony Yayo, Cat Williams, Steve Harvey, and Earthquake all have lessons that go beyond comedy or music. They're about survival and strategy. Tony also reflects on his relationships with other rappers like Max B, French, J. Cole, and Danny Brown. While he wasn't close with everyone at first, he learned to recognize who was genuine and who wasn't. These relationships shape the way he moves through the world. He mentions that some rappers act like they're your friend, but really they're watching to see if they can gain something. Tony's honesty about these dynamics is what makes this interview so captivating. And it's not just about safety or strategy. He talks about his love for the game, for music, and for the hustle, but he's never willing to put himself at unnecessary risk. He values his life and future over temporary respect or flashy displays. This mindset has kept him alive and relevant, even in the face of some of the industry's most notorious personalities. We also get insight into the entertainment business itself. Tony mentions how some people only care about appearances, jewelry, or money, but the real power is knowing when to act and when to step back. It's about patience, planning, and respecting the unwritten rules of the streets. The audience gets a masterclass in these unspoken codes through Tony's stories. Later in the interview, Vlad brings up stories about Cat Williams and Steve Harvey. Tony connects the dots between comedy politics and the rap game, showing that envy, jealousy, and competition exist across industries. Whether it's Cat, Steve, Harvey, or Ricky Smiley, everyone has egos, and everyone has rivalries. Tony's experiences help illustrate how these tensions form, how they fester, and how people navigate them to protect their careers and reputations. One of the most gripping parts of the interview comes when Tony talks about the choices artists have to make regarding confrontation and violence. He explains that fame brings visibility but also vulnerability. The lessons here are clear. Don't let pride dictate your actions. Always assess the risk, and never forget that life is more valuable than any temporary moment of proving yourself. Tony also shares his reflections on how fame has changed his approach over the years. In the beginning, there were fewer people he trusted. Today, he's more selective about who he surrounds himself with and where he chooses to show up. He talks about the importance of understanding the landscape, recognizing threats, and valuing longevity over immediate gains. These are lessons that aspiring artists can learn from even outside the music business. Throughout the entire interview, Vlad guides the conversation in a way that keeps the audience hooked. Each story Tony tells connects to the next, building tension and painting a vivid picture of the high-stakes world of hip-hop. By the end of the conversation, viewers aren't just entertained, they're educated on strategy, risk management, and the importance of alliances. Tony's commentary on Jim Jones, 50 Cent, Cat Williams, Earthquake, and even Steve Harvey shows a unique perspective on fame and confrontation. It's a mix of cautionary advice, personal anecdotes, and street wisdom that makes this conversation unforgettable. Before we continue, make sure to watch the video all the way to the end because the last part of Tony's conversation reveals a shocking insight about how he evaluates danger in real time and the decisions that most people wouldn't even think about. It's a masterclass in self-preservation, strategy, and street intelligence. Tony doesn't just talk about avoiding conflict, he explains why it's so important to think ahead. He tells stories about situations where things could have gone wrong very quickly. He mentions that sometimes being in the wrong place at the wrong time can cost you everything. He talks about knowing who's around you, who's watching, and who could potentially act violently. That awareness is what separates those who make it in the industry from those who disappear quietly. He says it's about surviving the night and making it home. That simple phrase carries more weight than most people realize. Fame and success aren't worth much if you don't have your life intact to enjoy them. Tony goes on to talk about his experiences with other rappers like Max B, French, J. Cole, and Danny Brown. He explains that while he wasn't close with everyone at first, respect was always mutual with the ones that mattered. J. Cole, for example, was someone Tony genuinely respected because of his talent and approach to the game. Danny Brown was also on that list, someone with skills and a unique perspective on the streets and music industry. These relationships weren't just about networking, they were about trust and knowing who had your back when things got tense. One of the most gripping parts of the interview is when Tony talks about lessons he learned from 50 Cent. He recalls advice that 50 Cent gave him about confrontation, and it's not just about fighting, it's about knowing your limits and understanding the stakes. Tony explains that if you're not ready to defend yourself fully, it's smarter to walk away than to escalate. This level of street intelligence is something many people overlook, but Tony's experiences show it's essential for anyone in the industry. He shares stories of encounters where walking away saved him from major trouble, emphasizing that strategy and patience often matter more than bravery or pride. Then the conversation turns to Jim Jones. Tony recalls seeing Jim get confrontational with academics, showing that even seasoned artists can get caught up in tension. He explains that he respects Jim but knows the importance of distance. Tony's strategy is to assess situations quickly, seeing who's involved, what the stakes are, and whether it's worth engaging. He shares that part of being smart in the game is understanding that not every moment requires a reaction. By keeping calm and composed, he avoids situations that could escalate into something dangerous. Tony also talks about the value of having the right team around you. In the music and entertainment world, it's not just about talent. It's about who's on your side when things go wrong. He explains that having people who are loyal and prepared makes a big difference. Without that, even small conflicts can become big problems. He contrasts this with people who act impulsively, ignoring potential consequences, and how that approach often leads to trouble. The interview dives deeper into Tony's perspective on fame, security, and the risks of living a high-profile life. He talks about the difference between thug security and licensed security, explaining that while some people rely on muscle or aggression, having proper protection and planning is far smarter. He ties this into his experiences with jewelry, expensive items, and the temptations that come with success. For Tony, the lesson is clear. Some things, no matter how flashy, are not worth risking your life for. Tony's stories also touch on comedy in the entertainment world, connecting with legends like Cat Williams, Steve Harvey, Ricky Smiley, and Earthquake. He explains that jealousy, competition, and egos exist in every part of the business. Cat Williams, for instance, has had confrontations with multiple high-profile figures, and Tony draws parallels that with his own experiences in the rap game. It's a world where everyone is watching and every action is noted. Learning to navigate that world carefully is key to long-term survival.
Tony also talks about incidents that happened years ago but still influence interactions today. He brings up examples from events with Cat Williams, showing how tension and rivalries can linger for years. He emphasizes that reputation is everything, and once a feud starts, it can have long-term consequences. By understanding history, context, and the personalities involved, Tony shows viewers how he stays 2 steps ahead of potential conflict. Another critical point Tony makes is about the role of mentorship. He repeatedly mentions lessons he learned from older, experienced figures in the industry, including 50 Cent. These lessons weren't just about street survival. They were about understanding human behavior, respecting boundaries, and making smart decisions. Tony stresses that having mentors and listening to advice is a big part of his success and safety. Throughout the interview, Tony's honesty and clarity stand out. He doesn't sugarcoat anything, and he provides insight into situations that most fans would never see. From backstage encounters to tense moments with fellow artists, his stories give a real look into the pressures and challenges of living in the spotlight. By keeping his cool and thinking strategically, Tony has avoided situations that could have ended his career, or worse, his life. He also shares personal reflections about why he avoids unnecessary drama. He explains that it's not about fear, it's about intelligence. Recognizing when a situation isn't worth your energy, money, or safety is part of surviving long-term. His approach combines street smarts with industry knowledge, showing a level of awareness that many fans might not associate with a rapper. Tony's experiences with Jim Jones, 50 Cent, Cat Williams, and other artists highlight the importance of understanding your environment. He explains that knowing who's around, what their motives are, and how situations could escalate is crucial. His stories are lessons not just for aspiring rappers, but for anyone navigating high-stakes, high-pressure environments. The principles he shares, patience, strategy, and situational awareness, are universally applicable. The conversation also touches on loyalty, respect, and trust. Tony explains how these values affect every decision he makes. From choosing who to associate with to deciding when to confront someone, he weighs each action carefully. His perspective shows that in industries like music and entertainment, relationships and reputation often matter as much as talent or success. As the interview continues, Tony delves into more behind-the-scenes stories.
including his observations of interactions between Cat Williams, Steve Harvey, and Ricky Smiley. He shows how competition, jealousy, and power dynamics play out in public and private settings. These anecdotes help viewers understand that even legends face complex human dynamics that influence their behavior and decisions. And he doesn't stop there. Tony shares examples of how past rivalries can shape present interactions. He points out that people carry memories, grudges, and lessons from earlier experiences, and those shape how they approach current situations. By understanding these patterns, Tony has learned to anticipate reactions and plan his moves carefully. Tony also reflects on his own growth. He talks about how he used to approach situations differently when he was younger and less experienced. Over time, he's learned to value patience, observation, and calculated action over impulse. These lessons, he says, have been key to his longevity in the rap game and in life. Before the interview wraps up, Tony delivers some final advice for viewers. He emphasizes the importance of thinking ahead, knowing your worth, and always being aware of your surroundings. He stresses that while it may seem glamorous, life in the public eye comes with serious risks. Making smart choices, surrounding yourself with the right people, and understanding the dynamics of your environment are all essential for survival and success. Finally, Tony Yayo's stories leave a lasting impression. From his experiences with Jim Jones, 50 Cent, Cat Williams, Earthquake, Max B, French, J. Cole, Danny Brown, and others, we see a clear picture of someone who has navigated complex, high-stakes situations with intelligence, caution, and strategy. Every story, every insight, and every piece of advice he shares underscores the lessons of patience, awareness, and the value of life over fleeting pride or possessions. Make sure you watch the video all the way to the end, because Tony shares some final mind-blowing insights about encounters and risks that are essential for understanding the full scope of his perspective. This is the kind of knowledge that can change the way you see not just hip-hop, but any high-pressure, high-stakes environment.
Situation. Let me ask you a question. If Tax Stone didn't go to jail, right? Hypothetically, do you think he would be in a good podcast space right now?
100%.
So he went to a T.I. show and quit 40 years to go to a T.I. show in New York? Nah, I'd rather not be there. That's the thing about me. I don't want to be around niggas. I don't worry about what a nigga gonna do to me. I worry about what niggas or I'm gonna do to you. Because it's an entourage thing. And I know you got niggas on your side that's ready to crash out, and I'll have niggas on my side ready to crash out. And you know how shit is. Niggas will start calling your phone like, yo, what's up? And you be like, yo, I ain't worried about that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'll say this before I get off the topic, right?
Uh-huh.
I just interviewed Earthquake, right?
Yeah, the comedians.
The comedian,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, shout to him.
And I brought up a situation. I said, well, you know, when Cat Williams was on Shannon Sharp, he claimed that you didn't know how to read. Like, the reason why Earthquake doesn't have TV shows is because he's illiterate. He doesn't know how to read.
Okay.
And I'm like, listen, you know how to read, man. Like, right. He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't know where that came from. And I'm like, have you ever run into him? He goes, yeah, we actually had a show together. And we ran into each other. But he said right before that show, I had met up with 50 Cent. And 50 told me, he said, if you're not ready to kill a motherfucker, don't confront a motherfucker.
50 Cent gave me some of the best advice in my life. I mean, when it comes to this. If you ain't willing to kill a nigga, then avoid confrontation at all means.
Whoa.
Yeah, just leave it alone.
Yeah. So what he did was he saw him, he shook his hand, and he kept it moving. He didn't confront him about the illiterate thing, whatever. He just said, I'm not prepared to kill someone right now, so there's no issue.
Yes, because, yo, listen, at the end of the night, I've been around some real niggas, man, and I always learned the whole goal is to make it home. That's it. Like, I never tried to play tough guy. I came home to a situation where it was us against the world, G-Universe against the world, and it still feel like that. And it's all good. I never wanted to hang with rappers. I was never really our thing. We never got along with anybody. Nobody. Like, absolutely nobody. Like, I don't remember really hanging with a rapper. Like, Max B and French was probably couple of other niggas, but
hold on. You were cool with J. Cole.
Oh yeah, J. Cole, yeah, definitely.
Right, you were cool with Danny Brown.
Danny Brown. No, I can't say I wasn't cool with a lot of rappers.
Yeah,
like
no,
for me,
you were a cool rapper. You were cool with Mobb Deep. I saw you hanging out with Prodigy one time.
That was like later on. But in the beginning of the game, like nobody never even